Hey guys, I'm Jared. Today we're talking about what's new in board gaming as of May 12th, 2023. I'll be covering the latest news, announcements, most played games, hot new Kickstarters, and crowdfunded games, and more related to board gaming for the past 2 weeks. At the end, I'll also be sharing what's going on behind the scenes with my YouTube channel, Meeple Mentor. So stick around, we've got a lot to cover. Leave me a like and comment on what kinds of updates that you want to hear more about. To make sure that you don't miss my news updates, new video tutorials, and our podcast episodes, be sure to subscribe on YouTube and your preferred streaming platform. Let's get started with some crowdfunding. Fight your way across an infinite board to gather blueprints and build your escape ship as the world crumbles around you in Seismic. This game is a dynamic sci-fi strategy board game for 2 to 6 players set on the dying surface of Kepler-62e, featuring an infinite dual-layered board. Throughout the game, you will gather resources, capture enemy units, gather blueprints, and work to construct your colony ship. It's for ages 14 and up and plays in 30 minutes per player. You can back it on Kickstarter until May 25th. Ninja Sloths is a 2 to 6 player turn-based competitive strategic card game. In this game, you'll assemble a squad of ninja sloths to heist gems from the evil guards while working to avoid the sabotage of your foes. The game also includes items you can equip to your squad, like weapons and action cards. Create your path to victory by building the ultimate ninja squad and heisting the most gems from the guards, or perhaps from your friends. It's for ages 7 and up and plays in 25 minutes. It's funding on Kickstarter until May 25th. Tablet, the popular Norse Tafel game, is nearly 1,000 years old, and this version is being offered as a large format pegboard along with 4 other peg pastimes games. Tablet was one of these asymmetrical strategy games in which one player controls a king and his guards, and the other player commands a larger force of attacking soldiers. The objective for the king is to escape from the board or to a corner space of the board. The objective of the attackers is to capture the king before he can do so. Assalto, the royal game of Cronane Master, and Stone That Kills are all up for grabs in this campaign on Kickstarter until June 4th. Create your own monster and race it to a diabolical finish line in Monster Mash Grand Prix. This 2 to 5 player worker placement game sees players searching stores for monster parts, generating resources to bring them to life, and race them around a track. It's for ages 14 and up and plays in 90 minutes, and you can back it on Kickstarter until May 25th. Worker placement, tableau building, point salad. Sounds like the new Euro game Wishland Dreams from America. Expand your theme park in this 1 to 5 player game for ages 14 and up. Playtime is estimated at 30 minutes and you can fund it on Kickstarter until June 2nd. Cities of Venus is a Euro board game where players establish floating cities in the clouds of Venus before contact is lost with Earth. Strategically grow and upgrade your city, deploy your scientists to the International Innovation Station, prepare for hazardous events, and more. It's for 2 to 4 players, ages 14 and up, and plays in 15 minutes per player. It's funding on Kickstarter until May 31st. Gear up for an expert-level engine-building game with adorable robot companions in Raising Robots. In this 1 to 6 player game, assemble robot companions to help you earn reputation and become the greatest inventor. Upgrade your robots to unlock powerful new actions. This game is intended for players 14 and up and plays in 75 minutes. You can back it on Kickstarter until June 1st. Clank Legacy 2, Fans Rejoice. Acquisitions Incorporated Darkest Magic is on Kickstarter until May 26th. The beloved Clank Legacy returns with an epic sequel. Co-op and competitive play in the world of Penny Arcade's Acquisitions Incorporated, new boss battles, scratch-off cards, yes, you heard me correctly, and more are part of this new sequel. New on Kickstarter, Pies, Mori, Lunar, Bacon. This variety of 4 trick-taking games is funding on Kickstarter until May 18th. In Pies, draft fruit for delicious pie combinations. Mori sees trick-taking with dice that breaks the rules. Lunar promotes teams synergizing numbers and suit cards, and Bacon is a fixed partnership climbing game for 4 or 6 players that is all about going out early as a team. The different games range from 2 to 6 players, most playing in 20 minutes. Bacon comes in at the longest play time with 40 minutes. Leviathan Wilds is a solo and co-op boss battling board game about climbing massive creatures. Intended for 1 to 4 players 10 and up, using a spiral-bound scenario book, players climb, jump, and glide throughout 15 unique Leviathans, each with its own map and special rules. It plays in about an hour, and it's funding on Kickstarter until June 1st. Havoc is a cards and dice game replicating medieval combat. Players take on the role of knights, barbarians, or other fighters locked in deadly hand-to-hand combat. 2 or more players create their fighters, choose weapons and armor, and decide their fighting styles. Then players build decks using Havoc's combat action cards. You can back it on Kickstarter until June 1st. Over on GameFound, brew the perfect chai, serve as quickly as you can, rake in the moolah, and leave behind a great impression on your customers. Chai Garam sees players perfecting their brews with ingredients from the market, then selling their teas to customers. It's for 2 to 4 players ages 14 and up and plays in an hour. You can back it on GameFound until May 18th. In the Archangelus deck building game, you and your opponent will begin with identical decks full of the low-level angels willing to join your cause from the start. Each turn you will have the opportunity to add to your deck legendary angels, mystical humans, ancient and powerful relics, and miracles. When you're strong enough, your host of angels can lay siege to cosmic, creepy, and mystical locations on Earth. It's for 2 players ages 13 and up and plays in 20 to 40 minutes. It's funding on GameFound until June 29th. Gimbal is a push-your-luck card and dice game for 2 to 4 players. Players take turns rolling the dice and gambling to collect suits of gem cards. At the end of the game, the cards collected matching players' private goals will add points to their scores, while the other cards will subtract points. It's for ages 7 and up and plays in 15 minutes. You can back it on GameFound until May 24th. Getting into the industry news, GAMA reported record attendance at the recently completed Gamma Expo, up over 20% from 2019, the last year unaffected by the COVID pandemic. Attendance for the 2023 show was 2,041 compared to 1,680 in 2019. Attendance was up 50% over the 1,360 attendees last year. Cryptozoic Entertainment CEO John Sepanuk passed away on February 14th. He was 54. His death came as the result of a heart attack while kite surfing along Huntington Beach, California. Sepanuk spent time in Japan as a young man and joined the Upper Deck Company in 2002, where he was vice president of business development until 2008. In 2010, he co-founded Cryptozoic Entertainment with John Nee and others with the World of Warcraft TCG, the company's first product. Steamforged Games has reached a deal with Blacklist Games LLC to acquire the rights to the Alter Quest board game and its associate IP. Set in the fantasy world of Aridica, Alter Quest is a dungeon crawl style board game for 1 to 4 players that is played on a modular game board. Steamforged Games will continue to develop, produce, and distribute Alter Quest and related items. Funforge has partnered with Flat River Group for exclusive distribution of their English language games in the US and Canada. As part of the partnership, Flat River Group will manage sales, marketing, and events for their English language games in the markets of Funforge's catalog of games. Funforge was previously distributed by Asmodee USA as part of a distribution deal inked back in 2019. Next, let's look at newly announced games and expansions coming to retail. Asmodee will release The Great Wall, a board game by Awaken Realms, into retail on May 5th. The Great Wall is a Euro game that Awaken Realms crowdfunded in June 2022, raising almost $1.5 million from almost 16,000 backers. It is a worker placement game where players assume the roles of generals in an ancient Chinese empire. These generals are tasked with defending the empire against ruthless hordes of invaders. To save the empire, players will gather advisors, manage workers, recruit armies, and build the Great Wall. It is for 1 to 4 players ages 14 and up and plays in 120 to 180 minutes. Stoneblade Entertainment announced Shards of Infinity Saga Collection, a collector's boxed edition, which will come to Kickstarter in summer 2023. Shards of Infinity, designed by Gary Arant and Justin Gary, is a card game that was originally released back in 2018 and spawned 3 expansions beyond the initial release. The Shards of Infinity Saga Collection will include the core game, all the expansions, the promo cards, and more in a single collector's box. The set will also add brand new features and mechanics to the mix, as well as a new Shard Master, exclusive cards, and upgraded components. More information will be coming as the Kickstarter draws closer to its launch. Smirk and Dagger Games revealed Adventure Party, a new role-playing party game which will be headed to Kickstarter on June 13th. In this cooperative game, players take on the roles of adventurers in a classic fantasy role-playing setting, attempting to best monsters and overcome challenges. The goal of the game is to earn as many experience points as possible over the course of 3 adventure scenarios. This game is for 3 to 6 players ages 10 and up and plays in 30 to 60 minutes. Atomic Mass Games has announced Jedi Hunters, a new squad pack for Star Wars Shatterpoint, which will release into retail on July 7th. The new squad pack features the Inquisitors, a group that stalks Jedi to the ends of the galaxy. Atomic Mass also announced Cosmic Ghost Rider character pack for Marvel Crisis Protocol, which will hit stores on July 14th. The Ghost Rider is back and more powerful than ever as he now wields the power Cosmic in Marvel Crisis Protocol with this new character pack. Cosmic Ghost Rider features high mobility and character displacement abilities. His team tactic cards add boosts to both himself and characters, part of the Guardians of the Galaxy affiliation. Atomic Mass will also release You Cannot Run Dual Pack, a new set for Star Wars Shatterpoint on July 7th. The Dual Pack comes with a Darth Vader miniature, an Obi-Wan Kenobi miniature, a terrain feature display, 2 unit stat cards, and 2 order cards. The 2 legendary Jedi duelists face off yet again in this new dual pack. Fantasy Flight Games announced Psylocke, a new hero pack for Marvel Champions, the card game, which is headed to retail in September. Psylocke enters Marvel Champions as a playable hero able to join up with either X-Force and the X-Men. Ravensburger announced Star Wars Villainous Scum and Villainy, a new board game expansion which will hit retail in August. In this second expansion for Star Wars, players can assume control of 3 more villains from the Star Wars universe, including the infamous galactic bounty hunter turned gangster boss known as Boba Fett. The 2 other villains in this expansion will be revealed at a later date. Star Wars Villainous Scum and Villainy is for players aged 10 and up. Direwolf unveiled Wild Tiled West, a tile drafting dice game set in an Old West populated by anthropomorphic animals. Each player is trying to acquire tiles to create patterns on their personal player board to score points. The game is intended for 1 to 5 players, ages 13 and up, and takes about 20 minutes per player. Capstone Games revealed Renature Valley, a new board game expansion to Renature for release into retail Q3. In the expansion, mushrooms have found their way into the environment. The players will be able to use these new organisms to transform the polluted valley so the animals can roam free again. The mushrooms allow players to expand individual areas or join areas occupied by other players. It requires the base game to play. One First Games presented 2 games in development at the Gamma Expo, Ins and Outcasts and Apothecary Plague Doctors, both releasing later this year. Ins and Outcasts pits players in a struggle to gather as much loot as they can as quickly as possible. Set in a high fantasy world, the players deploy their characters over a series of rounds. Each character has an initiative value which determines when their abilities take effect. Ins and Outcasts is intended for 3 to 8 players ages 10 and up and takes about 30 minutes to play. Apothecary Plague Doctor is a card game about would-be healers during the era of the Black Death. Players attempt to gather ingredients and create concoctions to treat a variety of ailments based on the healthcare philosophies of the time period. Steve Jackson Games will release Munchkin Druids, a new expansion for the Munchkin card game, into retail on May 31st. This expansion adds a new druid class to the classic card game and requires the base game to play. Restoration Games will release Thunder Road Vendetta, a restored post-apocalyptic racing game, into retail on May 31st. Thunder Road Vendetta is a restored version of the classic 1986 game. The original game was essentially a post-apocalyptic mayhem on wheels game, much in the same genre as the Mad Max movies. The game is for 2 to 4 players ages 10 and up and plays in 45 to 75 minutes. Lucky Duck Games has announced Into the God's Grave, an app-driven, fantasy-themed, cooperative board game. The players assume the role of mercenaries hired for a job that will lead them to explore and interact with this fantasy world. It is intended for 1 to 4 players ages 16 and up and takes 60 to 90 minutes to play. Devere Games will release Three Ring Circus, a new Euro game designed by Fabio Labiano, into retail August 18th. Players will be tasked with hiring performers like clowns, jugglers, and strongmen to improve the show and earn fame points. They gain more fame points for working big cities, and the player with the most fame points at the end of the game wins. Three Ring Circus is for 1 to 4 players and plays in 45 to 75 minutes. Ares Games will release DEFCON 1, a new Cold War strategy board game by Asyncron, which will hit retail in September. In this game set in the Cold War from 1950 to 1990, players control 5 different blocks of the world: the Atlantic Alliance, the Warsaw Pact, the Non-Aligned Movement, France, and China, and work their way through different scenarios. The game progresses as the DEFCON level goes from 5 to 1, opening up new in-game strategic options as the situations become more intense. DEFCON 1 is for 2 to 5 players ages 14 and up and plays in 90 minutes. Funko Games has announced a new title for release in June, Scream the Game. In this game, the players must try their utmost to avoid Ghostface and their killing spree using just their wits, hoping that they are not the next one to get a frightful phone call. A free companion app can be downloaded to provide narration by Roger L. Jackson and thematic music to go along with the game. Intended for 3 to 8 players ages 13 and up, it takes about 20 minutes to play. Halloween, the board game, will have the players controlling the victims, searching for various items to help them navigate the streets, as well as weapons they can use to fight back against Michael Myers, who is controlled by 1 player. The Hidden Movement game is set to be released August 1st. Let's talk for a bit about what's happening on the Meeple Mentor YouTube channel. First, did you know we have a Patreon page? It's available for fans of the podcast and channel to pledge as a Patreon and support us here. There's various pledge levels for small monthly support that helps grow the channel's content. You can get access to new content early, you'll get to vote on new game tutorials that come out on the channel, and more. Head to Patreon at patreon.com/MeepleMentor. I just released a new tutorial video on Acquire, the classic Sid Saxon game of corporation expansion and stockholding. A new version of the game is coming out later this year from Renegade Game Studios, so this may be a good time to freshen up on the game rules. In April, we did a giveaway on the channel for a new copy of Distilled. Congratulations to Eric Elliott on winning. I released a recent off-the-shelf recommendation video for Tokaido. Coming up on the channel, I'll be putting out a tutorial for Oriole, Rear Window, and more. If you have requests or suggestions for future game tutorials on the channel, let me know in the comments. Thanks for tuning in to today's news update. I appreciate your support, and remember, teach when you can, but always be learning. See you next time.